Hello and welcome to another conversation with To Transform Birth. I'm Sheila Kamara Hay, and I'm so happy to be here today with a new mama, 10 months postpartum. Her name is Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hello. Hi.
I'm so happy to have you here today to share your birth story. I got an email from Jen a couple of weeks ago sharing about how she had, so much pleasure in her birth with a beautiful photo of her completely blissed out. That's the photo that you see in the cover for this conversation. And she was sharing with me how much learning about ecstatic birth really inspired her toward creating her own pleasurable birth experience in a hospital. So I'm so excited to have her here today to share about these feelings of being blissed out in birth. And she has her beautiful, beautiful baby with her. Hi.
Hello.
So Jen, I'd love for you to start by just sharing your experience of pleasure in birth. What was it like? What did you experience? Tell us.
Yeah. Um, Definitely physical pleasure in terms of enjoying my body and movement and being touched. I had a good friend with me during my birth, and she's a massage therapist. And so there was a lot of touch. I asked for it. She was very, um, yeah, she was just there when I needed. And I wanted a lot of touch. She was actually surprised. So it was amazing to have that loving touch and to feel like I love getting massages, and I felt so lucky, honestly. Well, while I was there and with between my friend being there, I had a doula, and we have a community doula program in our town, which is amazing. And the nurses, I felt like I'm so lucky, like all these women caring for me and for my baby. And so just the physical, the between the contractions, being touched, I was moving my body, I was swaying, I was moving my hips a lot. And enjoying the music. Hi. Oh, she got glasses. That's her big thing. You got my glasses, huh?
So cute.
So yeah. So just feeling like I was so excited to meet her, and that it wasn't. I had definitely hoped that it would be pleasurable, and it really was. Yeah, it just there was just a lot of joy and laughter. And I was telling Sheila earlier, my friend Carrie told me afterwards, I don't remember this part, but at one point I did say, I'm having so much fun. So I just want mothers to know that this is absolutely, absolutely um, possible and wonderful. So,
I'm so grateful that you're coming and sharing your story. And it's interesting because we were talking just a second ago about how, as a woman who did enjoy her birth, like you can feel a little bit like guilty, like, oh, how can I possibly speak about having pleasure in birth when so many women have painful experiences, or, suffer through birth or traumatic experiences? And the thing that I really want to highlight is, birth, when we're talking about ecstatic birth, we're not saying that it's necessarily an easy thing, right? Like birth is a rite of passage. So it definitely has like its moments of intensity. There's a lot that you have to navigate. But when you use, when you consciously bring in tools of pleasure, when you consciously set that intention to enjoy your birth experience, it's actually the simplest thing to elevate your birth, because you go from, being in labor and having, whatever experience you have. And then when you bring in pleasure, it feels good, right? So no matter what, like it's that simple that you can bring in pleasure and elevate your experience. So I'm curious for you, Jen, like how did you prepare? How were you inspired to, to have this kind of experience, or to even know that it's possible for you?
yeah, definitely. I don't know when, years before I was pregnant, somehow I came across the idea of ecstatic birth and that possibility, and it thrilled me. And then so when I was pregnant, and even before when I was thinking of getting pregnant, I definitely Googled, and so fortunate to have found you and your website, and definitely the information that you provided, even though do I didn't get to do like a personal one-on-one with you. I I used you know, what you had given on your website and webinars you had provided. And so that was a big part of my preparation, just surrounding myself with positive birth role models,
Yeah.
women who had gone through it, women who believed in it. I read about it. I watched videos of women giving birth. Um, what you talked about, pleasure and being in your body and experiencing pleasure. I did that throughout my pregnancy, I would say. Um, you know, that was a big part of just preparing, was in pregnancy, you know, enjoying being in my body and movement and dance and you know, doing all of that as preparation. And oops, hi. And definitely, like, you had the question was, what did I do to prepare, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So just, I read as much as I could. I watched videos. I believed it. I think a big part was just wanting that for myself and celebrating that. And then, yeah, practicing. We did some rebozo sifting, which was a really nice hip centered, you know, hip movements. Ooh, hey, you funny girl. And, you know, music. Definitely, I focused on pleasure a lot. I focused on just what can I do to make this as enjoyable as possible. And also, as you said, rite of passage. I knew it was going to be a rite of passage, and I knew it was going to be intense. And but just have why not have as much pleasure, and why not be part of this awakening or reawakening of women all over the world, to just know that this is possible and available for us. And yeah, it means a lot. I think all the support out there from people like you and other women who share their stories.
I love when you say, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I love when you say, you know, like, why not be a part of this awakening? And it's interesting because I really want to highlight, so much of what you said, but when you think about like this awakening, for me, you know, the moment of birth is so much more than the moment of birth, right? Like, obviously you have like this whole landscape of motherhood ahead of you. You're leaving behind, you know, that single solitary life of like an autonomous human being and getting into a situation where there's another being that's wholly attached to you and dependent on you. And that, you know, that in and of itself can be a very, very intense experience. And so when I think about, you know, the moment of birth, it is really that rite of passage. And it also has so many ramifications for how we mother going forward. And so I'm curious if you're able to share, and if you need a minute, I can highlight some more of what you said, but I'm curious if you're able to share how you feel your birth experience has sort of reverberated into your motherhood, and how that intentionality around like having it be a joyous, pleasurable experience, how that has affected you as a mom. And she just showed up. I'm happy.
Hey, what's going on, honey? I just to let people know, I just got home from work before the interview started, so I think she's.
All right, so what I'm gonna do, let her have her mom's attention for a minute. I want to highlight a few other things you said, because so many of the things that you shared are things that I'm really passionate about women knowing. The first thing is to really surround yourself with a circle of support, which Jen highlighted that she had with her at her birth. She was lucky enough to have a community doula and some people, some women who really loved her, who could pour some loving attention onto her body. She talked about loving touch. Loving touch brings oxytocin flow into your system. Oxytocin is the governing hormone of labor and delivery. So when you have that experience of loving touch, and this is like one of the simplest ways to bring pleasure into birth, when you have that experience of loving touch in birth, you're also really supporting the flow of your labor. You're supporting the secretion of the same hormones that will, you know, move your labor along and bring you to that point where you are ready to push. Jen talked about like her intentionality and the fact that, you know, she really believed that this was for her and setting that intention. And when you prepare for your birth with such intentionality, you can hear from what Jen said that, she was preparing in all of these different ways, really getting into her body, really reprogramming her consciousness around what birth is by watching videos, by submerging herself in empowered birth stories and things like that. So much of what you said is so important, Jen. And yeah, if you're feeling like you can now, I'd love to hear about how you feel like having this pleasurable birth experience reverberated into motherhood for you.
Yeah, I think just, I mean, I will admit, like the beginning of when I first found out I was pregnant, I'd say I had a little bit of the pre-partum or whatever you would call it, depression, because I was afraid of, will I be able to do this and take care of a baby? Just the huge, huge responsibility of that. Um, and again, my way out of that with guidance from a mentor was, seeking pleasure and enjoying that pregnancy bliss. And luckily, I was lucky to move into that. So as far as how it helped me in motherhood, yeah, just immersing myself in, again, the community of women who um, who know this is out there for us, that this is kind of part of what women, how do I say it, like it's our birthright to have pleasurable birth, or however you want to say. It's a possibility for us. It's there, even though the culture might tell us otherwise. So I think that the preparation, the 9 months you're preparing to have a baby, that's a good amount of time. And so if in that time you're gifting yourself with just that this can be joyful, it's like it's a practice like anything else in life. If you want to kind of change things or shift things, if you practice meditation or you practice um, exercise, whatever it is, things will change. And I think because for many months in preparation of birth, I was focused on that it could be pleasurable. I think it just spilled over into the rest of my life, honestly. And yeah, like it's just, ooh, hey, honey, hi. So yeah, I'd say it's like you're flexing your muscle, you're building your muscles for joy and pleasure. And yeah, things. As a new mother, I was shocked. Like I just had reverence for every mother on earth out there. Like this is so hard, especially in the winter time. And my partner had to go to work, and there I was alone with this tiny little baby. To me, that was like, and me as a person who loves being around other people. Yes, Dada. I feel like I'm rambling on. Help me refocus. The question was, how did it spill?
We're talking about like how the pleasure reverberated into motherhood. And you were just saying how, yeah, it's intense. Even like we focus so much on birth, right? And birth is definitely an intense experience. But if you expand it out, like it's not just that moment in time, right? Like that intensity continues. So when you're able to use pleasure consciously to support your body, it's very nourishing, and it helps you ride those waves of intensity in a way that feels more doable, more manageable. And, like in your case, it has that added bonus of like giving you these pockets of like bliss and ecstasy. The more you can connect to your body, the more that's accessible to you no matter what. So yeah, so I think, one of the things I'm really passionate about women knowing is that that little being, as you can see, is so dependent on you. And so it's going to feed off your energy. And the more you can take care of yourself and move your energy from a place of survival to a place of thriving, the more your baby can thrive as well. You guys are so cute.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, Jen, is there like anything that you would want expectant moms to know now that you're on the other side? Is there anything that you would want them to know ahead of giving birth?
Um, just, I'd say, give yourself the time, make it a daily practice of preparing for the pleasure of it and the joy of it, and that your body can feel amidst the, yes, there's going to be intense moments, and it is a rite of passage. I definitely experienced moments of pain and intensity, but I would say overall, it was, I wasn't, um, I didn't feel great fear. I felt really supported. It was joyful. And I just want all mothers to know that it's absolutely possible. And it's wonderful. And I just want more women to experience that, for sure. Yeah.
I love how you said this is so much fun in your birth. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, this is the last question I'll ask you, I promise, and then I'll give you back to your baby. I'm curious if there's any moment in particular that you enjoyed more than the others. Is there any specific moment that you would want to share?
Um, just being loved. Like I felt so loved, and yeah, but and not just by the people I knew, like not just by my partner, but it was my good friend, feeling her love and support, feeling the love and support of the nurses there. I had amazing nurses. um it just being open to, I think, again, being centered in pleasure allowed me to feel all that love and care that is there for women. And um yeah, I felt spoiled in a way. And
Mm.
and again, like, to have a doula, that was even a special thing. I mean, I not everyone can afford that, I know, but luckily we have a community program where they have a sliding scale. But just to allow yourself to feel pampered, loved, give yourself that pleasure, because it is worth it, because I do believe it. Not only does it make the experience, amazing, but it does just, it sets you up for an awesome motherhood, because motherhood itself is a whole rite of passage, and a difficult journey, and also the most joyous journey. So
Mm.
to just be open to all those moments of pleasure and all the love that's here for us.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I was pissed off at my partner the night before, so it's not like everything was blissful. Okay, there there were definitely some real challenges in the ride of it all. So it's not like, he wasn't the perfect partner that I might have conjured up for this experience, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. Like, he showed up in other ways, and that's why I knew I wanted my women folk there. And yeah, I just yeah, I keep losing my train of thought.
I think that's so important to highlight, that it's not like every little detail has to be perfect. And
Not at
it's not like every detail of your birth from the start to the finish was perfect and blissful and easy, but you don't have to just throw it all away with that. Like, you can really focus, keep bringing yourself back to that pleasure and bliss. And when you talked about like feeling so pampered, it's like, my God, you're bringing new life into the world. Like,
all.
when else should people be surrounding you and loving you and pampering you and like giving you everything you need? So women, we just have to get over it
Mhm.
and really claim that, when you're giving birth, you deserve all of that. And no one's just going to like hand that to you either. That's the sad part. So not only do you deserve that, but you deserve to create that for yourself, to create consciously the circles of support, to create the experiences, to prepare for them, to, let other people know what you're going to need so that they can show up in the way that you want. But yeah, I mean, at that moment, you are bringing new life into the planet. Like, there's nothing more sacred than that. You should feel like royalty. You should feel like, like a queen in the birthing room. So I'm so happy that you had that experience, Jen. And I'm so grateful to you that you were able to come and share it with us. I know it's not easy when you're juggling, your little one too, but it was so cute to see her. And yeah, I'm just really so grateful for you for, pushing through that feeling of like, I don't know if I should share, other women have a really hard time. I don't want to trigger anyone, and really sharing your story, because the more women hear these stories, the more we can normalize it. Like pleasure in birth is not like a freakish, like once in a blue moon sort of thing. Actually, it's totally within your hands, and it is literally as simple as like giving yourself pleasure. So thank you for bringing us that message. And just really thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Jen, for joining us. Lots of love to you both. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Sheila, so much for all your support. And yeah, sorry for, she was just screeching a little more. Are we saying goodbye now?
Oh, you're so sweet. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.